I would love to know, what is it like knowing that you're going to drop, was it 500 or 750 mugs on a Saturday at 10 a.m. and they sell out in like a minute? What is that experience like, selling something as fast as like Adele sells concert tickets?
It really was not
mad.
Good.
It was. One batch I sold out in 10 seconds. Like,
Oh my god!
What?
A batch of what?
500. I had to do them in batches of 500, right? I had to do them in batches of 500 because,
Jesus.
and I know people were saying to me, "Oh, you should sell more," but I was like, look, yeah, if you want your mug in about 6 months, cool, no problem. I'll sell I'll sell loads, but I had to make sure that, because obviously when you're working with customers, you need to make sure they've bought a product off you and they're buying stuff. They're paramount. That you providing a service to them is paramount over everything. And I think that you need to make sure that you don't bite off more than you can chew. And that's why I was doing them in batches of 500. And it's really funny because I used to say to my missus, like, I used to say, come watch this. So I used to watch the Etsy, the Etsy, right? And I used to refresh it, and you could see the number of the orders just going bam, bam, bam.
Oh,
it was like mad. And it sold out, and I had to get her to take time off work. I had to get my mum round to help me to put them into, because I do all my postage and packaging myself. Like there's no outsourcing, there's no drop shipping, none of that stuff. I do. Yeah, and I can't even. Do you know what the worst part of all of it was? The worst part of all of it is the DHL. I live on the second floor, right? We live in a 2-story flat, and I live on the second floor. And when he used to drop their mugs off, he never used to bring them upstairs. And do you know how heavy those to carry 500 mugs, and how many different boxes I used to have to bring upstairs into the flat, and then I had to take them back down to take them to the post office. I think that was the worst part of it. But just to see, I can't explain it. It's surreal. It really is surreal, and I was genuinely humble, so humble. I just couldn't believe that something I'd produced had just exploded like that. It was crazy.
I actually haven't been very open about the fact that I quit my job and started doing this full time, and I think that was more out of fear of Yeah, thank you so much. So I quit my job in July. I was working full-time in the logistics and freight forwarding industry. And
thrilling. That sounds...
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
I
know, yeah. Get those life rights ready to sell for the movie adaptation.
Yeah, so fun. I quit that. I quit to focus on my work. So I think, how long was it? I think maybe a year. I was juggling both. I was doing the full-time work and then my artwork. And sometimes I look back now, I'm like, how the hell did I do both?
Yeah.
I was doing the prints as well at this time. So I was painting, doing the prints, and I would paint. So I would wake up, work. I'd have a 9 a.m. meeting for work every day because we were all working remotely. So there's 9 a.m. meetings every day. Then I would finish work, usually work overtime, maybe finish at about 6, eat dinner, and then I would paint till 3 a.m., sometimes 4. There was one time, it was when I was working on my Virgil van Dijk painting. I didn't even realize, but I painted after work until 9 a.m. I painted the whole night. And then I had to
wow.
because I was like, how I cannot possibly work after not having slept. So I had to call in sick. And it just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I feel like it was still risky at the time that I quit. I was like, I feel like I could do this full time. I wasn't selling any of my originals at that point. I wasn't actively trying to, but I kind of felt like I had garnered an audience that would enable me to do that if I did try. And I just also was not happy. I mean, obviously, freight wasn't my passion. So,
Really? That's surprising.
So I just quit, and it was scary, but it was I obviously have no regrets. So I've been doing it full time since July, and I only really started trying to sell my original artwork. It was maybe September. It was actually when I was working on the Porto painting that I did. that kind of motivated me to be like, okay, like, because initially prior to that, it was more like I need to try and like, you know, get these paintings out and like get more of an audience. And yeah, so
the original artwork that you've sold, do you like, have you ever sold any overseas? And if you have, is it like difficult to, how do you sort of, is it difficult to like, I can't imagine the logistics to getting something so big to send, like, you know, abroad and stuff.
She worked in logistics.
Fair point.
No, so I that's actually one of the reasons that I switched to canvas as well, because it's shipping these large panels. So the first two paintings that I did, actually no, sorry. The first painting that I did, that went to Northern Ireland, and then the Virgil van Dijk painting that was sold to a guy in Melbourne, and the Manet painting went to Liverpool. And the freight on that was just ridiculous because, like, obviously being on a panel, they had to ship it flat, and they also had to pack it because, like, I don't have the materials to pack it safely myself. Like, such a large painting, so it cost like $1,000 just on the freight, freight.
Yeah. That's you must have been also fearful of it getting damaged and stuff going over as well.
So scary. It's safer to ship them in tubes, like it, and it's more like just it's the most economic way to do it. Like, it just, even if you have to re-stretch the actual painting on a canvas again, by the time you pay to do that, and like you've only paid like maybe $100 on the freight versus $1,000, it's still going to be cheaper for you than just getting it sent flat. But I know some people do like prefer to send them flat just for, I don't know, maybe less stress on the painting. But it's just, wow, like, even I would think, I was lucky that the people that had purchased those paintings were happy to do it, because I would even think, like, if as a customer, for me personally, if I was already paying so much for a painting and then having to pay so much for this freight, I would be like, oh God, like, and I'm an artist, like, and I even still would be like, nah. That's why I switched to canvas.
In terms of logistics for your shop, did you print, pack, and send everything yourself?
Yeah, I did it all. So I used Squarespace, and then would just get emails with orders in and literally do it all. Yeah, so I'd often wait until I put a new piece on sale, wait until it sold a couple. If it was just an A3 print, for example, I'd wait until it sold 2 or 3 just to make sure that it was okay, and then I'd get like 25 printed, and then just do it all from here. Yeah, so because I felt like I was in a weird situation where I was selling enough at one point that I was quite busy doing it, but not quite enough that I could justify like doing some kind of drop shipping service, or I spoke to people who had the postman would come to their house, or collection people come to their house and pick up orders, but I never had enough consistent orders to do anything like that. So yeah, I'd like everyone, I'd have busy periods like Christmas time. I'd be going to the post office every day, causing massive queues when you turn up with a sack full of 20 or 30 parcels, and everyone behind you's absolutely fuming, and the staff are fuming, and you're like, so
there's one person on shift.
Exactly.
Especially during all the COVID.
I suppose you guys be the same, but I got to know the staff, so I had a good understanding that I'd leave stuff with them and just pay for it later on, or do that drop and go malarkey that the post office do. But yeah, it's still just time consuming, isn't it? Really, it's got to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I do all of my packing and some of the printing myself, and I know that Callie and Karl are the same. But I know people that do drop shipping. But for me, it's just always been a thing where, like, I kind of don't want to send something I haven't seen. I know 99 times out of 100, I'm sure it'll be fine. But like, I just hate the idea of something arriving in a customer's hands and it not actually matching what my vision for it was.
Yeah, definitely. I actually bought a printer to print from home, like, and I think Karl did before I did, and I thought it's quite a good shout that I can just print off one-offs and sell them. But then again, it's time consuming, isn't it, to set your printer up? And often if it ran out of ink or there was errors, and in the end it was easiest to just order 25 in a batch from an online printer, get them delivered the next day, and then keep that stock. But yeah, there's loads of unseen issues. I think one of them was I didn't have enough space in my small home office to store loads of prints, so that was restrictive, that I get to the point where I'd maybe have 10 different items for sale, but I couldn't really design anymore because I had no more room to keep them safely and securely. And I don't want to end up with like prints all over the place, and you're posting something out that's been sitting on the floor or rolled up in a corner. Yeah. So that was like an ongoing issue.
That's the exact reason why I bought a printer. So I do a mix of the two. So like if I think something's going to sell relatively well, I'll order 25, 50 of each size. But for things that I think I might sell a couple of a month, then I just print them myself, because I got to the same point as you where I was like, I kind of feel like I can't make more artwork because I don't have the space to store 3,000 prints this time next year. Yeah. So that was the reason I bought a printer. So because it kind of freed me up to feel like, well, if I just want to make something and it might sell, but it might not, then I still feel like I can put it up for sale and I can share it with people.
You've said something that's quite interesting a few times. You've said that I didn't know whether my artwork was going to be, and I think that's something that all of us, even no matter how good you are, like you always think that at the start of a painting.
I still don't know if my artwork or not.
Yeah,
same here.
I think it's
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Oh my god, me too. I was thinking about that earlier.
Yeah, like every artist sort of identifies with that to a degree. So with that in mind, when you started putting your big canvases out on social media, were you surprised by the response that you got?
Yeah, it's so weird. I still think about it, and it just, like, sometimes I'll be painting, especially now since I quit my job and like this is technically my job, I just think like I'll have these moments where I'm like, as if this is what I'm actually doing with my life, as if this is actually what I'm doing. Because again, like although I loved art growing up, and when I started painting, it was just something that I wanted to do, I never really intended on it being like, I don't think there was any time in my life where I was like, I want to be a professional artist as my job. Like, that's what I want to do. It just sort of happened. So when I did that Liverpool painting, I just did that for fun, because like we had just won the league, you know, we were in lockdown, couldn't celebrate. And I just thought, like, what am I going to do? You know, like, I've got nothing to do. And I had, like I said, I'd kind of been contemplating like doing football artwork, and I just thought, okay, like this is a perfect time to do it. And at that point I had an Instagram page for my art, but it was pretty much just for my mates, because I was posting all this artwork on my personal page, and I just thought no one like actually gives a shit about this. So like the people that give a shit can follow me. So yeah, it was just like I had like maybe 100 followers. And then I did that Liverpool painting, finished it. Again, it was just for me to have, like, just for, you know, for fun, like memory of, you know, winning the league. And my mate was like, you got to post this on Twitter. And I remember saying to him, I don't use Twitter. I had 38 followers. And I remember the exact number because it was 38 followers for like 6 years. Like, it just never changed, because I like really never really used it. I wasn't on football Twitter. I actually used it when I was like going through I was like really obsessed with The Walking Dead, and I would watch like a lot of like gamers on YouTube. So I would follow them on Twitter back in the day. So I was like, there's like no point me putting this on Twitter. No one's going to see it. And he's like, trust me, just put it on Twitter. And so I did. I was like, fine, like I'll do it. And then I put it up. He retweeted it, tagged a few people, or like quote tweeted it and then tagged those people. And then I was practicing guitar. Like, I was sitting on my bed practicing guitar, and then my phone just started going off. And I was like, what the hell? Picked up my phone. It was just like all these Twitter notifications. And I was so shocked, honestly. Like, I had never experienced anything like that, like of something that you post kind of like going viral. Like, I don't want to say viral, but like it kind of did the rounds on Twitter. Yeah, it was.
Have you learned to turn your notifications off since? Because I know I have.
My notifications are always off for Twitter. I think for me, what I struggle with right now is kind of wanting to do all these different things, but then not so much having the time for them.
Yeah.
Because I work on one thing at a time. I work on one painting and that's it. Mainly because a lot of oil painters paint in layers. So they might just do one layer and then they wait for it to dry. And because it's so slow drying, it might take a couple of weeks. So they'll have another piece that they work on within those 2 weeks, or they work on another layer of something else that they're doing. But I paint in just one layer. and I paint in sections. So it doesn't really work for me to like have a few things on the go. So then I can kind of get a bit of tunnel vision. I'm like, okay, like I'm just working on this, but like I really want to try this thing out. Then I'm like, no, like I have to do this project next. So yeah, I need to like better like manage or like leave myself time to do, you know, more like kind of creative, just fun things, like just for the, you know, for practice or to like get better at something else.
It's really tough,
Yeah.
isn't it? I was talking to a friend about this earlier, and I was saying like there's so many things I want to try, I want to experiment, I want to learn new techniques, but at the same time, like if people are paying me for my existing style, like where do I create the time? Like I've got commissioned work, I've got personal projects that I want to finish. Like where do I find the time to just learn new stuff? I think it's so difficult to find that. It's almost like I have to take 2 weeks off just to like around a little bit.
Like I hate to bring this back to the subject matter of your podcast, but that is one of the reasons why I stopped doing kind of online sales, because I was just getting so frustrated with parcels going missing that then I had to compensate for, and or stuff not getting delivered or stuff getting sent back to me, and then people complaining because they didn't get it quick enough. And I think like we've all got used to Amazon sending stuff the next day, and so someone's got to wait like a week for a poster or a print, and they get frustrated, or they want you to somehow magically get it there tomorrow because they've just remembered it's the dad's birthday. And there was so many like complications, and it's fine for Amazon to replace your smash files when they've got millions of them and they can, but if you're sending out like quite an expensive piece and it gets lost and then you've got to do it again, it's just a nightmare, isn't it? So I felt like it got to the point where it was just more hassle for me than it was worth. And so I noticed that in your agenda, one of the points was, do you miss your online shop? And in short, no.
Right, okay.
Cross that one off then.
I do think like I always use the Amazon comparison as well, and I say that to people where like Amazon has tricked people into thinking that like you should just be able to get anything within 48 hours. But what really irritates me, and I know a lot of people watching this are probably going to be customers of ours, and I'm about to slag our customer base off. But
customer base off.
It's my customer base,
yours,
not these two.
Nothing to do with me.
I think it's important that people like remember that they can't treat you like Amazon, but then also treat you like an individual person and try and like take advantage of your sympathies. So like you have to pick one or the other. Like you either understand that we're an individual human being who has, you know, who's doing as much as they can and essentially working like 20 hours a day to try and be all things to all people, or we're a business, and that means that like if you complain to me that something's not arrived after 3 days, I'm going to give it another 2 weeks before I do anything about it, because I need to like allow for things to go wrong. So I think, you know, sometimes I think people just need to have a little bit more understanding for the situations that we're in as people that run these like independent shops.
I used to get requests saying, could I hand sign stuff, or could I write a note on the back of the print because it's someone's birthday, or could I throw in an extra, whatever it is. And you're able to do those little bonus things because
absolutely. It
is a really personal service, isn't it? But then, like you say, the flip side of that is it's not going to be as quick or instant. But no, I do miss sometimes, actually. I missed, like, there's quite a thrill, isn't it, about putting a new piece online and seeing someone buy it. Yeah, it's hard to like beat the excitement of doing that, or coming up with an idea and you're buzzing because it's like you've just thought of it and you know it's going to go down well, and you post something online, it's addictive getting all that positive responses and checking your likes and your retweets and seeing your sales are going off to the Far East or North America, all that kind of stuff. There's definitely like loads of stuff I loved about selling prints online, but I found I just got to the point where it probably wasn't selling enough really to make it worthwhile, and the downsides were just outweighing all of the pluses. So
and the admin side of it just gets in the way of creating artwork, and that's what we are really all sort of set out in this to do, is to just be an illustrator and create an artwork, and you spend half your time, you know, and not that it's a bad thing, but it can be quite draining, that just continuously putting stuff in envelopes and dealing with emails, and you know, and on the back burner you've got a piece of work that you want to do for a client, or you want to get something out new. It just all adds its toll, I guess, to it. So it's a hard thing to balance, I think.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as like passive incomes that people talk about. It like you can wake up and check your emails and you've made a sale, and that does happen. It's great. You think I've made 20 quid in my sleep or something, but you've still got to put the work. You've done the work to get to that point, and then you've got more work to do to get it out and shipped and boxed off, and then log into your whatever system you use and mark it as sent, or reply to an email. All that kind of stuff takes time, doesn't it? And when you've got other work on as well, it can easily like slip away from you, and suddenly you've got complaints or people are waiting for stuff. Or, so it's not quite as kind of passive as it looks as if from a distance.
Thank you for watching another episode of Untitled Artwork. Don't forget to like and subscribe.